Just when you thought you could turn your back and walk away, the dark cloud of human indignity follows you. You have no choice but to turn and look it in the eye. It's the sex offender hit list.
Good evening and welcome. We begin with breaking news. The former Bishop of Broome has just been arrested by Child Abuse Squad detectives. The case was only reopened after 7 News exposed a leaked Vatican report into Christopher Saunders, ordered by the Pope himself. Jeff Parry is live in Broome for us, the only reporter there, as police raided his home. Jeff, he's Australia's highest ranked Catholic to be questioned over historic sex abuse.
Yes, that's right, Angela, and that's because former Cardinal Pell, George Pell, was finally found not guilty by the High Court. He's, of course, passed on, and now we have the former Bishop of Broome, Christopher Saunders, on very serious charges. As you said, it was a whole issue was being kicked on by a special investigator. It started 5 years ago by 7 News and our chief network correspondent, Chris Reason, into this matter. And we were watching
Some breaking news this morning. A teacher and coach with the Ankeny School District is in jail right now, accused of having an inappropriate relationship with a former student. Police say the district notified them of those allegations against Rachel Whiteside late last month. According to officers, the victim told school officials there was a sexual relationship starting between them in 2015 when the victim was a student. The police say an investigation found Whiteside engaged in a pattern of sexual conduct with the victim. Whiteside turned herself in early this morning, charged with sexual exploitation by a school employee and third-degree sexual abuse.
Deputies are knocking on doors looking for information about an attempted child abduction.
The Alamance County Sheriff's Office says a report was filed today about a juvenile who was almost taken while waiting on the school bus. WFMY News 2's Hannah Jeffries talked to people who live in the area who say they are shocked. Hannah.
That's right, Sydney. I spoke to a couple who has lived in this area for decades, and we were the first to inform them about this attempted abduction. They said they didn't know anything about it before, but now they are eager to help find the man who did this and say they will remain on high alert. Here's what we know about this situation. Deputies say the report was filed on Monday, but the incident happened over a week ago on the morning of February 12th along the 1700 block of Birch Bridge Road. The sheriff's office says says a white man driving a large white truck waved at the juvenile, and the juvenile waved back. Then the man allegedly stopped, got out of the truck, and grabbed the juvenile's wrist. They say the juvenile broke free and ran back up the driveway. The man then got back in his truck and drove away. The juvenile was not injured, thankfully. A couple who has lived along the roadway for decades says it shouldn't be like this.
Well, isn't that the truth? You would think that you would be safe, that a child would be safe, and we've got to stop these monsters. We got to get them off the street. I really hope that whoever would even think about doing such a thing to harm a small child, that they will seek help somewhere, turn themselves in, and let society help them.
The couple checked their security cameras, and we didn't see anything on them from February 12th. And additionally, they say the bus comes around 7 or 7:30 in the morning. Now, if you were in that area last Monday, this area, and know any information about what happened, the Alamance County Sheriff's Office is asking you to reach out to them. Their number can be found on our website, WFMYnews2.com. For now, live in Burlington, I'm Hannah Jeffries, WFMY News 2.
In Grand Island, a 25-year-old in the city is now behind bars for trying to entice what he thought was a 13-year-old into sending him nude photos. Manuel Cantle-Toll has been charged after asking what he thought was a 13-year-old girl for nude photos of himself and to meet him. After months of talking together, he arranged to meet up so they could engage in sexual intercourse and other acts. The presumed girl was actually a Grand Island undercover police officer posing as a teen. Upon arrival, Cantle-Toll was taken into custody. Captain Dean Elliott of Grand Island Police Department says that Cantle-Toll reached out to their office's fake account.
Well, a man is now charged with capital murder in the death of an 11-year-old girl in southeast Texas.
Divers found the body of Audrey Cunningham yesterday, days after a statewide Amber Alert was issued. Fox 4's Paige Ellenberger here with more on that investigation. Paige.
Yeah, Brennan and Lauren, investigators say they found the girl's body not too far from where she lived. 11-year-old Audrey Cunningham was last seen on Thursday. Authorities issued an Amber Alert for her later that day. She lived in Livingston, which is about 70 miles northeast of Houston. Her family says she had left for school around 7 that morning, but she never made it. Searchers ended up finding her backpack near a river 2 days later. They named 42-year-old Don Stephen McDougall as a person of interest. He was a friend of Audrey's family and had been living in a trailer behind the family's home. He was arrested for a separate crime on Friday. While he was in custody, he admitted to police that he had been with the young girl the day she disappeared. That interview, along with cell phone data and video, police say led them to the girl's body in a river.
There were several points of interest that was turned over to us so that we were able to develop, and thank goodness and by the grace of God, one of those places of interest we were able to locate.
McDougall has a lengthy criminal record, including aggravated assault. He was also indicted for indecency with a child, which was later reduced to child enticement after he took a plea deal. Again, jail records show that he was charged with capital murder. Audrey Cunningham's body was sent to the medical examiner to determine how she died. For a Good Day, I'm Paige Ellenberger.
A Louisiana State University student is behind bars after he allegedly tried trading and selling child sexual abuse materials over Instagram. Deputies say, what's this guy's name? Jahi Palmer Davis, 20-year-old, was arrested on Tuesday, February 20th, and charged with 2 counts of pornography involving juveniles and 2 counts of unauthorized use of a wireless router system. According to arrest records, law enforcement began their investigation on January 5th of 24 after being tipped off by Instagram that 2 videos contained child sexual abuse material of children under 13 years old, and had been uploaded just a few days prior by an account later linked to Mr. Palmer Davis right here. He allegedly used his LSU email address to upload the child sexual abuse material files, and a search warrant of his Instagram led to 2 images being found, as well as a conversation between his account and another Instagram user's about trading and selling videos of child sexual abuse materials, according to officials. They also say he had a conversation with a user who identified themselves as being 14 years old, and he sent videos to that juvenile and told him where to go online to post explicit photos. Davis was booked into the East Baton Rouge Parish Prison. See ya, Chomo.
A Lincoln man accused of trying to entice who he thought was a preteen girl has been sentenced. Hall County District Court records say 38-year-old Luke Chapin was sentenced to 40 to 50 years behind bars for attempted use of an electronic device to commit sexual assault. According to an arrest affidavit, a Grand Island police investigator says in January of last year, she posed as a 12-year-old girl on the social media platform Kik and spoke with a profile which was later determined to be Chapin. Records say Chapin had sexually explicit conversations and requested nude photos.
46-year-old Nathaniel Hayden is charged with sexual battery. A Lowndes County grand jury recently returned the indictment. Prosecutors allege Hayden sexually assaulted a 6-year-old in July 2022. No other details about the case have been released and no court date has been set.
There's also a link to fill out the request form. And the Baton Rouge Police Department is responding one day after the WFBI team blew the lid off a new troubling allegations coming out of the Brave Cave. Within the last 30 minutes, the department released a statement officially acknowledged that they have received the complaint related to this case. The agency says it takes all allegations of officer misconduct seriously, and Chief Morse has verified the complaint was immediately assigned to Internal Affairs to begin a thorough investigation. According to the complaint, a mother and her 3 sons allege they were all taken to the Brave Cave last summer and strip searched. A federal lawsuit was also filed. Claims to show officers showed up to the family's home in North Baton Rouge back in June looking for Glock switches and guns. While there, 2 of the teens say they were hit by officers, and the youngest boy was forced to sit in the back of a police unit for hours dressed only in his underwear. Once they were taken to the Brave Cave, the lawsuit alleges the entire family was separated and strip searched, and the youngest boy claims he was sexually assaulted inside the facility.
If you could describe what happened when the officer was alone with the 11-year-old.
I won't go into too much detail. I don't want to get too explicit, but the allegation is that a sexual assault occurred. There was a strip search that was performed. There was a visual body cavity search that was performed as well. And one of the allegations is that his private parts were touched and or held.
PD says as soon as their investigation into the matter wraps up, they will be fully transparent about their findings. In the meantime, if you would like to watch this full report or catch up on previous Brave Cave investigations, just go to the Brave Cave tab under the I-Team section on our website. Scotty will also have updated reporting on this case tonight on 9 News at 6. An American citizen faces up.
First new this morning, a 22-year-old man has been accused by Grand Island police of possession of child pornography and sex trafficking of a minor. The suspect was originally contacted by a police department in Pennsylvania, where a mentally disabled 17-year-old reported that a Nebraska man had been asking her for explicit photos. That led them to talk with Logan Bundy, who, according to an affidavit, admitted to threatening to harm himself if he did not receive those explicit photos. He also threatened to steal the pictures he already had if she did not send more. Preliminary hearing is set for March 6th.
Now, a former flight attendant accused of filming children using the airplane bathroom appeared in federal court in Boston yesterday. Prosecutors say last year, 37-year-old Estes Carter Thompson III used stickers to tape his phone to an open toilet lid right before a 14-year-old girl entered. However, she caught on and took a picture of his concealed phone and then told her parents. Authorities say they found 4 videos of kids using the bathroom on his iCloud account and hundreds of images of child pornography. He's being charged with attempted sexual exploitation and possession of child pornography. He could serve up to 50 years in prison if convicted on all of those charges. It's unclear if Thompson entered a plea.
Meanwhile, over in Oklahoma, a Logan County man was arrested on charges of child sexual abuse material, according to the Edmond Police Department. On the morning of Thursday, February 15th, a search warrant was served to a southern Logan County residence where David Jason Stover, a 50-year-old chomo, was located. After reviewing a cyber tip from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children and conducting on-site interviews, Stover was arrested on charges of distribution and possession of child sexual abuse material, 3 counts each, in violation of an Oklahoma Computer Crimes Act, according to the police. Stover was booked into the Logan County Jail, where he belongs. Well, he belongs in prison, but that's temporary residence for now. See ya, chomo.
A Henderson man will spend 20 years behind bars for sexual abuse of a minor. A Commonwealth's attorney tells us Cameron Royster was sentenced today for charges of rape and sodomy. The Henderson County Jail says Royster was arrested in July. He was initially charged with sexual abuse of a victim under the age of 12.
New at noon, a San Antonio police officer arrested last month on a possession of child pornography charge, admitting as well to performing sexual acts with children as young as 3 years old.
That's coming to us from discipline records from Officer Albert Sanchez, obtained by KSAT Investigates this week. Sanchez was arrested January 11th on the felony charge and then suspended from SAPD without pay a day later. Investigators from his own department said they found explicit images of minors on his cell phone. A forensic download of Sanchez's communications, however, showed that he described these sex acts in multiple conversations with a woman last year, claiming he still had pictures from the incidents and might even have recordings. Sanchez is free on bond awaiting indictment in the child pornography case. He is also being investigated for possible sexual assault of a child, according to a search warrant affidavit.
Keep up to date with all of San Antonio's top news, weather, and so much more by clicking the like and subscribe buttons below. And once again, thanks for watching KSAT.
New tonight at 8, Riverside County Sheriff's deputies have arrested this man who they accused of molesting a child. KCAL News assignment editor Mike Rogers is at the desk. Mike, investigators believe there could be more victims.
Yeah, Susie, that's why they're putting out the photo. That's why we're showing it to you, is because they believe there are more potential victims of this person who they describe as being a pastor. I want to show you his photo here. We're looking at the man identified as David Helbling. This is by the Riverside County Sheriff's Office. They say they got a report late last month, about a previous sexual assault of a child that had occurred in the 23,000 block of Hemlock Avenue in the Moreno Valley area. Now, the deputies assigned to the case went and investigated it, and ultimately they learned that the juvenile had been assaulted by the local pastor, who you see on your screen here described as 79-year-old David Helbling, a resident of Moreno Valley. He has been booked on several charges at the Riverside County Jail, being held right now on $2 million bail. But again, tonight, they do believe that there are more victims of this person. That's why they're asking anybody who may recognize them, anybody who thinks they or their children may have been victimized by this person, to give the Riverside County Sheriff's Department a call tonight. Susie, they're not exactly saying why they think that, but they do want to get his photo out there.
A Montgomery County Sheriff's deputy is now facing child pornography charges. 57-year-old James Christopher Buckley here was arrested yesterday. Buckley is accused of possessing and distributing images of child sexual abuse material from his iCloud account. The Cape May County Prosecutor's Office says the incidents happened at Buckley's vacation home in Wildwood, New Jersey. He's being held right now at the Cape May County Correctional Facility pending a court hearing. We'll have more on this coming up tonight on Action News at 6.
The charges are shocking, but the office is still open. The state medical board takes up the case of a Nogales doctor now accused of sexually abusing patients. Thank you for joining us for 13 News live at 6. I'm Brooke Wagner.
And I'm Dan Mars. An OBGYN with sexual assault charges against him continues to practice in southern Arizona. The complaints date back almost 6 years, but only now is the medical board deciding his future, and the charges were only filed earlier this month.
13 News reporter J.D. Wallace is live in Nogales outside the practice of Dr. Marco Saucedo. Hi, J.D.
Hi there, Brooke. You know, when the state medical board received a sexual abuse complaint from a patient from December 2022, that investigation uncovered another complaint made by a different patient to Nogales police in 2018. The medical board has been deciding what to do, all while Dr. Saucedo faces 5 charges between those 2 patients.
That concludes this matter, and the board's decision will be reduced to writing, and a copy will be provided to the licensee and his counsel.
The Arizona Medical Board has decided to allow Dr. Marco Saucedo, seen here in 2014, to continue to practice as an OBGYN as long as he has a chaperone with patients, which his attorney, Michelle Thompson, told the board he's already been doing.
Dr. Saucedo has fully cooperated with this board's investigation.
The board first received a complaint last April from a patient claiming Dr. Saucedo sexually abused her at a community health center in December 2022. That board investigation uncovered another complaint with Nogales police in April 2018 from a patient who said he sexually assaulted her, but the county attorney previously did not file charges.
And no new evidence exists other than a he said, she said situation.
The board's investigation lasted the rest of the year. Dr. Saucedo agreed to a psychosexual evaluation for the board to determine if he's a threat to others. The evaluation found him to not pose a threat.
Which, as the board is aware, concluded, quote, "It is the unanimous opinion of the evaluation team that Dr. Saucedo is currently safe to practice medicine," end quote.
But now he also faces felony charges, sexual assault and sexual abuse for the 2018 complaint, and for the 2022 complaint, 2 counts sexual abuse and 1 misdemeanor assault. The charges weren't filed until earlier this month. He was arrested but not taken into custody and has been summoned to court.
He continues to deny the allegations. He has not been convicted. In fact, as noted, there has not been a probable cause hearing by a judge to determine whether the charges can even proceed against him.
Dr. Saucedo must sign an agreement with the medical board within 24 hours or have his license suspended. His attorney points out, though, that Dr. Saucedo has been complying with all of the requests of the board promptly. His initial appearance in court is expected next week. Live in Nogales, J.D. Wallace, 13 News.
Stephen Hopkins is no stranger to this courtroom. He was in here 10 years ago after he stabbed a man in self-defense, and again in 2019 after attacking 2 women on Long Pond Trail. Only a year later, he was back, this time for sexually assaulting a teenager. He represented himself in that trial, a strategy that delayed proceedings and did little to keep him from going back to jail. That criminal history is what's fueling the Crown's request to have him labeled a dangerous offender. It's one of the most serious matters a person can run into in a courtroom. That's because the convicted person may never get out of prison. They're deemed too high of a risk to be allowed their freedom. This week, a judge is hearing arguments for why or why not Hopkins should be removed from society, perhaps permanently. A major part of those arguments is a thorough psychiatric report. The doctor who wrote it testified yesterday that Hopkins is at a high risk of reoffending, that he didn't seem interested in treatment to control his sex drive, and believes that women owe him sexual gratification. The report says he shows an inability to restrain himself and that he believes his crimes are justified. At one point during his assessment, Hopkins told the doctor he believed he had the right to women and to sexual release because he paid his taxes. The doctor noted he also made sexual comments toward Waterford Hospital staff during his evaluation. The report says while Hopkins displays traits of psychopathy, he doesn't meet the full criteria for the disorder. The doctor found he did show a concerning pattern of behavior, though, concluding that Hopkins is an opportunist who repeatedly takes advantage of vulnerable strangers, and that the history of complaints against him shows an escalation of the risk he's willing to take. Hopkins has rated his own risk of reoffending at 16%. He has the rest of this week to call witnesses, including himself. Malone Mullins, CBC News, St. John's.
An Odessa, Texas man was arrested on a warrant later last week after a 13-year-old child made an outcry against him last December. This is 53-year-old John Brandt Moorer. He's been charged with indecency with a child by sexual contact. According to Odessa Police Department report, on December 29th of 23, a woman called 911 to report the child's outcry. The woman said she was at work when the little girl called and told her that she'd been assaulted by Moorer while she was sleeping on their couch. The woman said she left work, returned home to confront Moorer about the allegations. That's when Moorer reportedly jumped out a window and left the scene. During a subsequent forensic interview, the 13-year-old girl told investigators that she was sleeping on the couch when she awoke and found Moorer touching her private areas. The child said when Moorer noticed that she was awake, he jumped up, began stuttering, and claimed he was only fixing her blanket. Investigators said the child had to stop multiple times during the interview to cry and was very emotional when recounting the details of her experience. Following that forensic interview, investigators requested a warrant for Moorer's arrest, and on February 17th, he was spotted getting on an Easy Rider bus in the 500 block of Lincoln Street. Moorer was subsequently arrested and taken to the Ector County Law Enforcement Center, where he remains as of Wednesday on a $2,500 bond. Wait, excuse me, $25,000. That's much better. Still not enough, Chomo.
Now, each Wednesday, we are featuring someone on the run. The Colorado Bureau of Investigation has a top 100 most wanted sex offenders list. Number 54 on the list is this man, Thomas Callahan. His warrant is from Pueblo County Sheriff's Office. Now, take a close look at your screen. Callahan hasn't registered since 2017. He was convicted of attempted sex assault, including contact. One of his photos, that he's wearing glasses. I do want to point this out. In this photo, he's not. If you've got any information on his location, you're asked to call the number at the bottom of your screen. I'm also going to have this info up at kktv.com later today.
Former private school teacher in Plano bonded out of jail after he was charged with grooming a student.
Fox 4's Paige Ellenberger live at Plano Police Headquarters with the latest on this case. Paige.
Yeah, good morning. So police say a child went to her parents and told them that her teacher had been making sexual advances toward her. Concerned, her parents came down here to the Plano Police Department. Investigators ended up sitting down with the 15-year-old earlier this month. She told police the interactions began happening back in October at Great Lakes Academy, a private school here in Plano. She says her former 9th grade teacher, Jacob Allred, pulled her inside of the school's library and confessed he had feelings for her. 2 weeks later, he added her on the chat app Discord. While on that app, Allred would ask her personal questions. He would tell her what to wear and express more of his feelings toward her. She told police that come November, things got physical and they stayed that way through the holiday break. Court documents say he would touch her inappropriately over her clothes. Police issued a search warrant for Allred's phone. However, he wasn't cooperative. Eventually, they ended up getting it and found more communication that supported all of these allegations. He was charged with child grooming, a 3rd-degree felony, and he was booked into the Collin County Jail. Just hours later, though, he posted bond, which was set at $25,000. Parents at the school were alerted of this arrest, and they were told he resigned because of it. Now, police did not confirm if he had any other victims. However, they did say that while they were going through his phone, they found more communication, more conversations with other students.
Craig Ross Jr. in that video moments ago admitting under oath to the crimes he committed at the end of September.
Yeah, Ross facing 47 years to life now in prison for these heinous crimes.
News 10 ABC's Skylar Eagle was in Saratoga County Court as the guilty plea was read aloud. She joins us live from Ballston Spa now with more details. Skylar?
Lydia and John, Craig Ross Jr. pleaded guilty to kidnapping and predatory sexual assault against a child, 2 of the 9 charges he was facing. And with this guilty plea, this case will no longer go to trial. That could have forced the victim in this case to testify. District Attorney Karen Hagan calling this moment a victory for the victim's family, the greater community, a case that captured national attention. Ross kidnapped the young girl last year when she was riding her bike in Moreau Lake State Park. The search garnered national attention, prompting an Amber Alert over the course of 2 days until police found her in a trailer on Ross's mother's property, tracing a ransom note left at the girl's home to Ross through a fingerprint from a DWI. New York State Police Troop G Commander Dennis Shager telling me just moments ago he's never seen anything like the search efforts that led to finding this young girl.
They're out on a fun family camping weekend, and because of one man, their lives have changed forever. That man will spend the rest of his life in prison. Best outcome we could ask for.
There's a collective sigh and a pause, of a release of a breath that the perpetrator, the evil person who committed these crimes, is now responsible and has said so himself. There'll be no need for testimony.
Ross was remanded to Saratoga County Jail. He faces 47 years to life in prison. He will be over 90 years old by the time he is eligible for parole. His sentencing set for April 17th. We will have more on this coming up in our later shows. For now, reporting live in Ballston Spa, Skylar Eagle, News 10 ABC.
Accused of sexually assaulting a 13-year-old girl has pleaded guilty. Michael Barber is charged with attempted kidnapping and child molestation. Investigators say the incident happened in a park near the girl's home in 2021. Now, Barber threatened to kill the girl if she told anyone what happened. He was arrested, though, back in 2021, but was arrested again later that year, or last year, after fleeing to Arizona. He posted bail after that. Barber is expected to be sentenced in April.
A Somerville man is facing multiple charges related to child sexual abuse material. 22-year-old Perion Jones is charged with 20 counts of third-degree sexual exploitation of a minor. If convicted, each count is a felony punishable by 10 years in prison. Jones was arrested earlier this month, and investigators say Jones possessed child pornography.
Lubbock, Texas. Andrew Vasquez, 35-year-old Chomo, was arrested and booked into the Lubbock County Detention Center on February 8th for years of sexual abuse against a child, a first-degree felony, according to an arrest warrant. Vasquez was indicted on February 6th for engaging in sexual contact with the victim, a child younger than 14 years of age. The indictment said the abuse went on from December 2018 to February of 2022. His bond was set at $150,000 cash, and as of Wednesday, Vasquez was no longer booked in the jail. How the hell did he get out on bond? Jeez.
Memphis mother Jasmine Moss reportedly ran her hair removal business from this home in Westwood, according to police. Although 2 cars were in the driveway, no one came to the door to talk to me about the recent social media post that sparked a Memphis police investigation. I did speak with Melanie Salisbury, the owner of the Memphis Skin Academy in Bartlett.
Myself being a mother, I probably would not have my child as young as 5 doing services such as that.
Moss's social media post showing a 5-year-old girl waxing a nude adult went viral last week. The Memphis Police Department says the images were uploaded to Moss's Instagram account to promote her hair removal service.
In Tennessee, you have to be at least 16 years or older to actually get hours to obtain a license for becoming an esthetician.
Police documents say the post claimed her daughter waxed 24 clients for more than 8 hours. Salisbury says waxing is too dangerous for a child.
Even as an adult experienced professional, you can get burns.
To become a licensed esthetician in the state of Tennessee, you must complete 750 hours of training and pass written and physical exams. Salisbury says although it is not illegal to have an esthetician business in your home, there are laws and regulations.
Long as it's inspected by our Tennessee State Board of Cosmetology, they come through and inspect the premises and other things that may surround it with your local code enforcement and things of that sort. For the safety of the public, I always advise my students to work in a professional setting.
Because he's a monster. You know, he is constantly on the prowl. He's a hunter. He doesn't let up. He's relentless.
A monster. That's how an Osage County Sheriff's Office investigator who you just heard describes this man over my shoulder, Sammy Frydenberg. He was arrested last week in Tulsa with the help from the Tulsa Police Special Victims Unit. Fox 23 crime and safety reporter John Sebas joins us live. John, these allegations are pretty horrendous, to say the least.
Yeah, horrendous. The allegations are listed in a 6-page affidavit. Has to be one of the more disturbing things that I personally have ever read, and I was only comfortable sharing just a small amount of that information for Sammy Frydenberg.
This is Sammy Frydenberg, the face of a man in Tulsa County Jail where Osage County Deputy Tom Nave says he belongs.
There's a high potential for multiple victims, numerous victims.
How many victims so far that you have?
8.
And you're saying that number could be much larger?
I think that's a high probability.
According to an investigation detailed in a 6-page affidavit, one of the victims in it came forward in January at the age of 26 years old, years after the alleged abuse began. Records say the sexual abuse started when that woman was 7 to 8 years old. At one point, the affidavit says Frydenberg even tried to assault the victim while watching a Dr. Phil episode about molestation. Investigators say that woman was not the only victim, and at times he would not feed the 2 girls unless they showed him their breasts. I asked how he found his alleged victims.
Some of them he made contact with through the foster system, and some were relatives.
Detective Nave says his department was tipped off about one of the victims in Osage County by a Tulsa police detective.
We were able to get an arrest warrant in Tulsa County, and I got a search warrant for his residence here in Osage Osage County.
Without going into more details in the disturbing affidavit, Detective Nave told me this.
He's a monster. You know, he is constantly on the prowl. He's a hunter. He doesn't let up. He's relentless.
Frydenberg is charged with 3 counts of lewd molestation and 1 count of soliciting a minor with indecent exposure.
There are a lot of people, John, that will say murder is the worst crime. I don't think that. I think it's these child abusers.
If you think you are a victim, what should you do?
Contact the Osage County Sheriff's Office immediately.
Again, Frydenberg is in the Tulsa County Jail. He is being held on a $1 million bond. I checked the court dates. It doesn't look like there's anything looming officially or any date set at this time, but sometimes these things do take time. He is likely expected in court sometime soon. Covering news that matters, John Acebis, Fox 23 News.
A young sex abuse victim has stormed out of court furious at the sentence handed down to the man responsible. The former prison boss was jailed for less time than it took to commit his vile crimes.
Stuart Berry, a once highly regarded prison boss turned sexual predator who's about to find himself on the inside of a jail cell. He groomed and sexually abused a 14-year-old boy for 7 years and was today jailed for a maximum of 6 years for his depraved crimes.
It's appalling. It's more than disgusting, to be honest. The offending lasted longer than his sentence will, so it's atrocious. It's pathetic. This just shows that the justice system's weak.
Berry, seen here with his co-accused and ex-husband Matthew Campbell on their wedding day, filmed the son of his close friends in the bathroom of his Salisbury North home using a video camera disguised as a clock radio. Police also seized dozens of video files of naked children. Today, when Berry's sentence was handed down, his victim stormed out of court.
I couldn't sit there and hear that when I've got the rest of my life impacted. 7 years of torture for myself and they can't even put him away for half of that. It's atrocious.
He was 14 at the time of the abuse. Berry was in his early 30s. His ex has already been sentenced for his role in the crimes. Because of the nature of his job, the judge said Berry would likely serve the majority of his jail term in protective custody, away from other prisoners.
I hope every day is living hell for him. I hope his only resort for safety is protection.
Deanna Williams, 7 News.
A Des Moines area photographer accused of using a hidden camera to capture explicit pictures and videos of kids.
Jeffrey Gray is charged with possession of child porn and sexual exploitation of a child. The FBI has identified more than a dozen victims and are looking to identify even more. KCCI's Kayla James is in the studio tonight. And Kayla, they found images dating back to 2005.
Yeah, that's right, Lara Jody. Investigators say Gray ran wicked imagery out of his home. Now, take a look at the photo on your screen. It shows the moment Des Moines police and the FBI took Gray into custody today. Federal authorities have not provided his booking photo. According to the criminal complaint, investigators seized hard drives containing explicit videos and pictures of children. Investigators say several of the videos show Gray setting up the hidden camera in a bathroom or bedroom before a child comes into the room. According to a search warrant filed by Des Moines police, a relative told investigators about the files on Gray's computer. That relative told investigators Gray had at least 4 studio locations across Des Moines over the years. The relative says he saw hidden cameras in the smoke detectors at these locations. The search warrant also says some of the victims were part of a dance studio, which was a client of Jeffrey Gray's.
Former Brighton High School physics teacher sentenced today after he pleaded guilty and admitted to having thousands of images of child porn.
Louis Carasone learned today in court he'll spend 3.5 years in prison. Some of the victims in these pictures are as young as 5 years old. Isabel Garcia joins us live from State Street in Rochester with more. Isabel.
Yes, good evening to both of you. Today in federal court, Louis Carasone was sentenced to 42 months in prison, along with 7 years post-release supervision. He was also ordered today to pay $6,000 in restitution fees, $3,000 each to victims who were depicted in some of the images he had. Now, this all started in October of 2022. Investigators said Carasone uploaded pictures and a video of child pornography to a file-sharing network. After an undercover officer found these files, tracing them back to Carasone, a search was conducted at his home. Investigators say they then uncovered more than 2,000 images and videos of child pornography, some of which depicted 5-year-old children being subjected to violence and sexual abuse. Investigators also said Carasone secretly recorded some of his female students in his classroom and in other instances filmed children in bathing suits at a water park without their knowledge. The defense today taking at least an hour arguing for a non-prison sentence, claiming Carasone had been on a depressive spiral following a neck surgery in 2018, noting he was in and out of therapy on psychotropic drugs amid other factors contributing to his state. But the judge disagreeing today, describing the nature and really sheer volume of the videos and images he possessed as egregious, also factoring in the risky behavior and his professional position as an educator.
As she noted, the number of images that he possessed, which were over 11,000, in the amount of time during which he engaged in this activity, which was alleged to have been a period of 4 years, were two of the factors that we heard the court today consider seriously when imposing the sentence. In this case, the fact that he was a teacher, the judge found to be significant. There was an erosion of trust there, that he would be around children in a position where he was with children as a teacher, as a coach throughout the years, and then engage in activities which Congress has legislated is specifically harmful to children.
And Carasone himself also had the chance to address the judge today, and when he did, he said that he thanked her for her time and he committed to following any of the directives that she set forth, also apologizing to his family, many of whom were in the courtroom there for support. He also apologized to the community, saying, quote, "I'm sorry to everyone I've hurt."
A 60-year-old man in Coweta County, Georgia, has been sentenced to life in prison without parole for sexually abusing 2 minor girls. According to the Coweta County District Attorney's Office, Leslie Jean Patterson was found guilty of child molestation and aggravated sexual battery by a jury. Patterson hosted parties where alcohol and drugs were provided to underage teens. The district attorney said that during those parties, Patterson allegedly made inappropriate sexual advances towards as many of them as he possibly could. During the court hearing, an 11-year-old girl reported being molested by Patterson in 2020, leading to additional allegations from a second victim assaulted in 2015 at one of his parties. It's tragic that he was living freely in our community to be able to sexually assault at least 2 minor females from what we know, said District Attorney John Herbert Cranford. Patterson has a lengthy history of more than 60 arrests and records of multiple felony convictions, according to the DA's office. See ya, Chomo!
I'm going to put you in the first team. Are we together or not together? Answer me.
We're together.
Stop it! You calm down. Stop!
When a child experiences trauma, they can be stripped of their ability to imagine. But imagination is colours. All the colours. Imagination is freedom. And whatever you want it to be. But a child without imagination is not a child at all. Will you help defend our right to imagine?